Welcome to Invisible No More, the podcast where we explore triumphs over trauma and the powerful journeys of healing and resilience. I'm your host, Shannon Huff, and together we'll shine a light on the stories of strength, hope, and the paths we forge to reclaim our lives. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Invisible No More. My name is Shannon Huff. I am the founder and executive director of Shield of Sisters. Today we are talking with Jasmine. Jasmine served in the Navy, and she is an author, right? The Navy?
Yes, that's right.
Go Navy. That's
Go
my
Navy.
branch. Served in the Navy. She's an author. And I'm just going to jump in and let you just start talking. Tell us a little bit about your service and how you got to where you are today, and about writing books. And so, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. I really am grateful to be here with y'all today. So my story is kind of interesting. I actually don't tell this story this way all the time, so I'll give you a sneak peek. I went to go join the Marine Corps, uh, and when I went, they were like, "Hey, you're too fat. You can't join. You have to lose some weight." So I went and I tried to go run around the Alameda, which was near where I lived, trying to lose the weight to get in the Marines. And the situation I was in at home wasn't a great one. And so I'm like, I need to get out of here. I'm gonna go join the Navy. And so I have a long family history of service. My dad's a Vietnam veteran, and my grandfather was a World War II veteran. Um, and I have an uncle who was also a Marine, which is what inspired me to go towards the Marines. So I decided to join the Navy in 2000. And when I went to the Navy, it was very interesting time. It's right before, like a year and a half before September 11th came around. So um, that's my little funny about how I decided to go off and join the Navy. It wasn't my first choice; it was actually my second.
Interesting. When I joined, we went to the recruiter station, and the Navy was the only one in that day. And I have my father was Army, my stepdad was Navy, so go Navy. Plus, I grew
Go
up around
Navy,
Fort Knox, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be in the Army. That's stupid. I want to leave home. I don't want to stay in Kentucky. So
right?
it's amazing how that works.
Yes, yes, yes.
So tell me how your time in active duty was, and what you how you became an author. Let's just go through all the stages here.
All the stages here. So in 2000, I went in as aviation bosun's mate handler in crash and salvage, and I was on the flight deck of the USS Iwo Jima. So it was I was on a pre-commissioning division before which is mean the ship is in port getting built in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and we I was stationed at Norfolk. That's where the ship was going to be stationed at. So essentially, what happened is kind of went in, did my 4 years, met my husband in 2000. We got married in 2001. And that's kind of like went on about my life. I've always been like proud of whatever I've done. And so I just began journaling like my life story and different things I was feeling kind of throughout the years. So it was around to get into the author part, it was around 2014. And we had moved we were living in, if you ever heard of Newport News or Hampton Roads area, we lived in Newport News, Virginia. And I was like feeling like a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure. Um, like stuff had to change. And I've been looking for jobs and opportunities other places. And so I just decided to go and apply for a job up here in Washington, D.C. And then I got it. I got the job. And so I came up here. And as I came up to DC by myself. My family have two kids, a 21-year-old son who is neurodivergent and a daughter who's 16. She doesn't have, um, she's not neurodivergent. So they were still down there. Now, this time, they were much younger. So I'm traveling from there up here to DC um, every day on a commuter bus. And so I'm just finding time to write and journal. And I get the title of the book. My first book is called Help Me Tell: Finding Your Voice After Trauma. And it's about a little girl named Lily who goes on her journey of healing after she experiences a traumatic event. Lily in the story is myself. And so the book really was birthed out of this need for me to go through my own healing journey after experiencing sexual trauma at a young age. Um, and it was multiple times by multiple people. Um, so the book just kind of came from that space, just wanting to begin to heal. I had the title in 2014, but did not publish the book until 2022.
Wow. Oh, goodness. That's a lot. I mean, assault as an adult is one thing, assault as a child is a totally different experience. You're so innocent and don't
Mhm.
understand. Um, but even as an adult, trying to find your voice to tell sometimes is hard. So, if you could kind of talk about how Lily helped you find your voice and tell your story.
Yeah. I think as you're an adult and you learn different things, you become, I would say, protective. Um, and you develop some skills to protect yourself, right? And so for me personally, I decided that therapy was a tool that I needed to use to help me heal and to give Lily a voice. Um, and so I began going to therapy in 2014, took a break, went back in 2020, and then took a break. Then I found my current therapist in 2021, and I've been with this therapist for 3 years, and it's really, really helped me give voice to um, protect Lily, um, and have her be more vocal. That childhood trauma is something that you just don't know how it impacts you until it begins to unfold in some of the just destructive patterns that you develop, and you don't necessarily know why you use them as coping mechanisms. Um, but I decided that because the therapy was helping me identify those destructive patterns and bad coping mechanisms, that will find new ones, healthier ones to replace um, the bad ones with. So for me, my bad one was overeating, um, all the time.
Yeah. I developed that unhealthy pattern as well after I was assaulted because I felt the heavier I was, the more unattractive I would be. And it has caused a lot of health problems now. And even still, I have times where I'll binge because I've been around too many people and like gotten uncomfortable. And, um, there's not a lot of services out there, VA wise, at least where I am, that help survivors with eating disorders. And I'm glad you brought that up because it can go either way. It can go where you eat too much, you binge, you purge or not purge, or you don't eat and you're purging. What advice would you give someone who has developed an eating disorder and how to get help for that.
Oh, that's a great question. I think my piece of advice that I would give to you is one, to be willing to be vulnerable enough with yourself to identify that you have something going on when it comes to eating, and then find a safe place for you. And only you know what that safe place looks like. For me, mine was therapy. For you, yours could be, a friend or someone else. And then you can find an accountability partner to help you walk through, what it looks like if therapy is not your choice. But you can take back the reins of having an eating disorder, and you can make changes and do healthier things for yourself. But the first step, I think, is really identifying what it is, calling it out, giving it a name, and then doing something about it, taking an action step to do something about it.
That's powerful. Yeah, you have to be able to identify it first. Like, why am I doing
Mm.
this? Why do I go to McDonald's after I'm really stressed or someone has given me too much
Mhm.
attention and binge, like 4 Big Macs? Um,
Right.
I haven't done four.
Mine was donuts and cupcakes.
I haven't binged 4 Big Macs. That's where my mind went. Somebody was talking about Big Macs the other day, and I'm like, I don't like Big Macs, but that sounds really good. I'm going to avoid
Mhm.
McDonald's because I've gotten to that part. Like, why am I thinking about this? Um,
Yeah.
it. The more I talk to survivors, no matter what age they were when they were assaulted or how many times, um, I find one of the largest things we go through is how can I not bring attention to myself so no one wants to do
Hmm.
anything to me?
Yeah.
Um, But they say that a lot of people who were assaulted or have trauma when they were younger, they join the military. And I'm not sure why that is, but you know, when you joined the military, did you have any issues, like harassment, assault, or anything that triggered other problems for you?
Um, so to your thought about why people join, I think I do have a thought around that, and I think it's because you're looking for a place of escape, and it seems like a better opportunity, right? And so, like, whatever your situation may look like, your universe might look like it's horribly bad, then you may also be like, oh, well, the sky is blue and they have rainbows and Skittles falling everywhere. So let me run to the military because it looks like way better than where I'm from. um, and that's good to a degree. But I think, hearing some of the stories that I've heard and my own experience, I didn't necessarily experience harassment myself as an active duty member, but I will say that we had a story, and this is one story that has stuck with me and really messed me up a little bit in this way, is that we had a gentleman on my ship. He was a father of 3 children, and he seemed like a nice guy. He would come to work and everything, and we're really cool on the ship. And then we hear this story about how he gets his neighbor's kids and he's raping them. And that would trigger me to eat really bad food and take in really bad food because I never drank or anything. I just would eat myself into an oblivion. So I was on that. I had to, do the PFT, and uh I was on the fat program. I
The
can't
fat
remember what
girl
the
program,
program is called
yeah.
no more.
Yep. That's how we all called it, was the fat boy or fat girl
Yeah.
program, right? Girlfriend, I was there. I get it.
Yep. So, um, yeah, that was definitely a struggle, but and that happened like maybe 1 year in. I mean, I would just, and I wouldn't be able to identify back then why I was doing what I was doing. I can do it now, right? But hindsight, you get a bigger view of a picture. But then I couldn't tell you why I was, engorging myself with junk.
Please tell me he went to jail.
Um, he did. He did. I don't know how long his sentence was, but he did go to jail.
Wow. You know, one of the things I've struggled with is, my whole life growing up, I grew up in a very strong military family. Grandpas, all the men, they all served.
Mhm.
Military's great. We're good Americans. We're good people. We're officer and a gentleman, whatever. And then to see the level of lack of morals, lack of ethical behaviors, I
Yeah.
just go, and they call us the, we're supposed to be the cream of the crop. We're protecting our country. And some of the ones that join are just animals.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I even raised my kids that way, even after I was assaulted serving in the military. Oh, because I thought I was the only one. It was back in the early 90s. Nobody talked about it. Raised my kids. Oh, the military's great. We take care of each other. We're a family, blah, blah, blah. And then just hearing other stories and, um, it amazes me what our recruiting standards are and how we can bring some people in and, or maybe they were great before and then all of a sudden they become adrenaline junkies and this is a way they can, get their adrenaline rush. I don't know. It shocks me when I hear things like this. And I would love to say I don't get shocked anymore, but I still do. Um, so if you had anything to tell our sisters, our survivors, um, besides about eating disorders but like your voice says, finding that voice, what would you tell them? Because one of our big pushes right now, even before the conference, is using our voice and say, no, this is not MST. It is rape. It is
Yeah.
assault. It is harassment. What advice would you give them to use their voice?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think um, for me, one of the issues I had was finding language. And language in itself, depending on your exposure, can be comfortable or uncomfortable based off of, your upbringing. I was raised in a family where we didn't talk about certain things. So if I brought something up, it wasn't okay to talk about it. So then you minimize what you're experiencing. So you choose maybe small language. I would say one key thing that you can do is identify language that's bold and makes you feel um, empowered, and identify it early, and then get comfortable practicing using that language. Because for me, I didn't know what rape was. It was gentle touching or caressing or Um, no, I was raped, and I couldn't say that because we didn't talk about that. We can call it that. So it's important, and I taught my daughter this. I taught my son this as well. Call things what they are, and so many people hear me call things just flat out how I see them, and that's because I identified the importance of using the right language. Even if it's bold and uncomfortable for someone else, you need to make sure that you're taken care of and that you can say the things that help empower you.
I don't think I could say it any better. We teach our kids words like, oh, you're PP or whatever word we
Mhm.
come.
Mhm.
And because, a lot of us grew up back in the day when you didn't say things like, penis or vagina
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
um, and it took me a long time. It actually took a counselor to tell me you were raped. And I was like, well, no, I was on a date and I gave in because I was being coerced. No, you were raped. And it took someone actually telling me, and I was like, oh, and it crushed me all over again. It was like, what? I was, and so it was a whole different level of trauma that I experienced after I was like flat out told, you were raped. And I was like, And we're talking 30 years later, you know. So I think, and that's one of my big pushes, is use the words. When we say MST, MSA, um, intimate partner violence, IPV, all of those, we take away from what's really going on. And I see it daily when I'm talking to people about Shielded Sisters. Oh, what do you do? Well, we help women who have MST. Oh, that's nice. Okay, let me back up. I help women who are raped in the military while they were wearing a military uniform and they were, whatever they were doing, they were assaulted by their brother, their battle buddy, their commander, their okay. Oh, that's not so good. No, it's not. So we've really started, the Pink Berets use call it what it is. We use MST as not a verb. And we're both really pushing that vernacular that we're going to call it what it is. You can't put this pretty pink ribbon on this anymore because it's not a pretty pink ribbon.
That's right.
It is rape. It is assault. It is harassment. And people are like, oh, well, harassment. The British services just had a 19-year-old kill herself or die by suicide because her commander was harassing her so much she didn't want to live. And so call it what it is. Call it what it is. Yeah. If you're not comfortable with that word, find somebody who can help you use the word, who will use it for you. Because, Kayla at our conference, she says whatever she feels. We were on a podcast
I love
earlier.
her.
Oh, girlfriend. She's like, I'm like, I hired her because Kayla says the words I can't use as the executive, right? Like, I'm not going to go up to you and go, oh, F you, commander, That's what Kayla's here for. And I'm like, okay, now that my coworker has told you you're a piece of crap, I'm going to tell you how we're going to fix this, But, if you need us to come alongside you and use the words rape for you, we will. And we're going to go to your commander and go, she was raped. What are you going to do about it? Right. And so thank you for bringing that up because I think it's important to use those words and, so people understand what's really going on. And so I thank you for joining us today, for sharing your voice. Real quick, tell people the names of your books so they can find them.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So my book is called Help Me Tell, Finding Your Voice After Trauma. It's on Amazon and BookBaby. And then my other book is a devotional and it's called Together in the Trenches, a 30-day devotional for families courageously navigating PTSD. And that's on Amazon.
That is amazing. And again, Jasmine Rush is with us today. She's done a remarkable job working through a pretty traumatic experience in life and at such a young age. And I just applaud you for standing up, using your voice, giving other people's voices. And thank you for your service in the Navy.
Thank you for yours.
We have a big fight in our family every year. My husband's Army, I'm Navy. That's the only time we have a little bit of a battle going on there. But I appreciate what you've done. I look forward to continue working with you at Shielded Sisters. We're just continuing to grow, and we look forward to many more conversations.
I look forward to participating and helping in the fight. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you all have a great day and join us again on Invisible No More for our next podcast. We'd like to thank the members of our Founders Circle, Superbio, Walmart, USAA, Sauk County Veterans Service Office, National Electrical Contractors Association, and Julie Norton. Ask us how you can be a member of the Founders Circle today.